filming.
I'm filming. All right, howdy, and welcome back to the GT Motors YouTube channel. This video is going to be about, I guess it's been a year. It's been a year with the 2017 Macan S, and if you look closely, we've added some miles, almost 10,000, a little over 10,000 to be exact. And we bought this car just about a year ago, and in this video, I'm going to run through how it's been. And what we've had to do to it or not done to it, and just kind of give you the rundown of the 1 year ownership experience. And then when I'm done, I'm going to hand it over to Cindy, whose car this is primarily, and let her run through the pros and cons of owning a higher mileage used Porsche for a year. So let's just go ahead and kick it off. All right, so we're going to start where we left off. This was almost the exact screenshot that I posted about a year ago when we traded in her 2012 Subaru Forester, which was a one-owner car, for this technologically advanced, zippy, scary Porsche Macan. And honestly, we've been super happy with it. But again, the reason for really making this video is, with the car market how it is, you know, I'm sure I could sell it either on a private party sale or through Carvana or something for almost what we paid for it. I punched it into Carvana and they offered us $34,000 for it, which is almost exactly right where what we purchased it for over a year ago and 10,000 miles less. So this is a pretty common scenario that I think a lot of owners of slightly newer model vehicles find themselves in. You know, older German Audis, Porsches, Mercedes, even Alphas used to depreciate like a rock between, you know, 20 and 80 to 100,000 miles. And with all the craziness that's kind of going on with the used car market today, over the past year and a half with the chip shortage and inventory shortage, the values of these have held. And even though things have calmed down a little bit, stuff like this is still pretty desirable. And so we're having a hard time going back and forth deciding what we want to do with this car. Now, I'll be honest with you, over the last year, we've had to do nothing to it. And not that I was expecting to do anything with it. We changed the oil about a month ago at around 76,000 miles, just because it had been a year. We primarily have used this car for road trips, but we're at the point where do you put more miles on it? Do you get rid of it? Do you get rid of the car payment? Currently, all the vehicles that are in the fleet are paid off. This is the only one that's not. So it's really just trying to figure out what we want to do with it. And the car's held up great. As far as tire wear, brake wear, everything's still good to go. The car came when we bought it with, it's dirty right now, with newer tires and new front brakes. So that was really a part of the decision that helped us get into that. Now, if you've seen in my previous videos, and I'll link them above and at the end of this, there was a few issues with the timing cover and whatnot that had to be remedied after the purchase. But other than that, no main issues. There was a small quirk with the HVAC system, but that was just a sticky button, and that's about it. Other than that, it's been pretty flawless, reliable, smooth, fast, and everything that is it's advertised for. We still love the red interior. This is kind of a higher optioned one. I mean, it's pretty much got everything that you could want, as well as the air suspension, heated and cooled seats, these awesome stitched red seats with the red accents, full heated steering wheel, blah blah blah, PDK. And I'm still pretty much under the impression that this is the best all-around car that you can buy on the market. And honestly, it's been really hard trying to find something that could fill the void that this car that would leave. But you know, again, the reality is we just don't drive it as much as we should. And unless we're going to go all in and keep it for the long term, then it might be time to get rid of it. You know, the issue I think with a lot of these Macans is the torque converter transfer case deal that can sometimes plague these. Not that this has any issues. But again, that's a $5,000-$6,000 bill if it comes up. So, you know, just little things in the back of your head that kind of worry you for long-term ownership, especially when you have other vehicles that you're driving more frequently and cost less to maintain. Again, not that this has really cost us anything. So I'm just giving, you know, the real world thought process and what kind of goes into making these type of decisions. So there's really not that much to say about it. I think we average around 25 to 27 miles to gallon. It takes premium fuel. You know, I got the tires rotated once, and that's it. It shouldn't have to do anything more or less. You know, we have the dog seat protector back here. It fits Frank back there, no problem. Enough stuff in the back where you can't get extra things and people try to give them to you. It's made it up to the cabin in the rain, up the steep incline. The off-road mode functions great. We've taken it on the beach, all the way up to upstate New York, down to Charleston, South Carolina. You can see all the videos in the snow. I mean, it just does everything. It does it well, it does it comfortably, and it does it in style. So we're at a slight bit of a turning point because we never really intend to keep the car for this long. I know I'm droning on and on, but you know, I think this is kind of what some people that are in the market for one of these are looking for. I mean, obviously I've got like 6 or 7 other fully functional vehicles that we can pick from, and I don't think Cindy is really keen on selling it because it really is a fun, interesting car to drive. But again, it's still when you're offered to get into something for what you put into it, it's a very hard thing to pass up on, you know, in case things go one way or the other. But you know, that's my take. I'm gonna kick it over to Cindy to give her hot take of her car. So appreciate you guys watching and stay tuned. Yeah.
Okay. So my take on the Porsche Macan. So I've had this car for almost 1 year now, which is crazy. It has already been a year. We haven't had to do much to it at all in that whole year of ownership. I don't know exactly what Troy talked about in his whole spiel. But really the only thing that we had to do after that initial PPI where we had to fix the oil leak that was happening, was we changed the oil, got a state inspection, which that's like very standard stuff. The only other random thing that happened was there was a nail in one of the tires I had run over at one point. We got that plugged and it works great. It was a little bit of a challenge to get the tire pressure light off, but our friends over at Sports Car Workshops figured out how to do that for us. All right, so my take on having this car for 1 whole year. First of all, it's really crazy to think that I've had it a year, and I still like it just as much, if not maybe more than I did when I first bought it, which makes it a little challenging. So actually right now it's interesting that we're filming this because we're debating selling this car or not. So I happened to look up what it's worth right now, and even reached out to Carvana, and it's basically worth almost exactly what I paid for it. So I know a lot of used cars are kind of in that same situation, so I don't know if this is necessarily special in that regard. But just having that thought of, hey, you know, like I've basically been able to drive this car for free, minus, you know, the gas and interest payments on the loan. But so we're debating whether or not we want to sell it. The problem is I can't decide or think of anything that I would want more than this car. So it's right around, it's just shy of 80,000 miles right now. And like I said, it still drives great. We did get the tires balanced, or road force balanced, right? Yeah, at one point, which honestly wasn't really needed, but some of us have to have a perfectly smooth ride, and any sort of vibration in the wheel bothers us. So we did do that, but other than that, like I said, there's been no issues. Still drives great, still feels really good. Like every time we get into it, the leather's held up really well. Still even has that new car scent, despite Frank in the back almost every day when I drive him to work. And compared to some of the other cars that we drive, I mean, if you follow along with the channel, you see that we have quite a fun, different car collection. And this car just has a lot of things that might seem basic that you take for granted, such as cup holders and even new things like Apple CarPlay. It just make this a really fun, enjoyable car to take on road trips. and just to drive around town and to work every day. Some things that I don't really like about it, which no surprise, but just the premium fuel. Gas prices, as everyone knows, increasing right now. So that makes this something that I will take to Costco and drive out of my way to fill it up with gas. It's not a huge detractor from it, but you know, just something to think about. The other thing, which again, new going into it, but the trunk space isn't ideal. So that is something that we kind of have run into on going on road trips, is that, you know, you have to be very specific and thoughtful about what you want to take. You can't just throw anything you want in the car and expect it all to fit, because that's just not the case, especially with the dog where we don't have any room to put anything in the back seat. But other than that, like I said, I mean, it's a really great car. I've enjoyed driving it. If I do end up selling it, I'm going to be sad. I don't know what I'd replace it with.
What are the two things you'd miss the most?
Two things I miss the most?
If you sold it.
Just how it's fun to drive, definitely. So this is something that, you know, you don't really, well, maybe you do, I don't know. When you're on a highway or something and you're in a situation where you just want to pass a car, or you just want a car that's fun to drive, the fact that this thing accelerates quickly and it's reliably fast is something that I'm, you know, I guess have kind of been taking for granted in the year I've been driving this, but it's something that if you get into a different car, that isn't always the case. So that's something I would definitely miss driving it. What else? I mean, just the feel of it. Driving it around, it feels good. It's comfortable. I like the way it looks, you know. It's something that, you know, when you get into it, it's relaxing. It feels good. That's something that isn't always the case in all of our cars, especially those that leak and don't have working AC. So,
What's your last question? Would you buy it again?
Would I buy it again? Yes, I would definitely buy it again. Like I said, I'm gonna have trouble finding something to replace it with if we do decide to sell it, and because of that, even if we do sell it, I would see myself owning another Macan in the future at some point, if, you know, it worked out that way. But yeah, that's my take. 1 year. What am I supposed to talk about?